Hi, I'm Seth Kearsley, and I directed 8 Crazy Nights 20 years ago. It's been a long time. I've been through some stuff, especially this year. If you watched any of the other videos, you know what I'm talking about. So the question that I get asked the most is about Sandler. Well, let me back up. How did I get the job in the first place? I was at Sony doing Dilbert. I heard that there was going to be this Adam Sandler animated feature, and I was like, I want on it. Dream to work with Sandler. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I remember the theaters where I saw, like, Billy Madison and Waterboy and Happy Gilmore. Like, I was there opening night for those movies. I was that fan. The quoting the movies fan. So someone else got hired to direct it, and then the following Monday, the guy that was hired got fired. So suddenly, the supervising producer was like, I need you to come up to Sandler's house, like, today. Don't go into work. You might have to come up to Sandler's house. I'm driving up. I don't think he lives there anymore, but he was living in Bel Air at the time. I don't know where he lives now. I'm driving up into the Bel Air hills, and it's just going higher and higher and higher, and I'm passing all these, like, gigantic mansions, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, if he's in one of these, like, insanely huge mansions and has, like, a butler or something, like that's going to be weird. Like, I just want him to be the guy that I think that he is in my head. I'm getting to the end of the road. I think I passed the house because I was like, no, that can't be it. I passed the house and I got to the end of the road, and then I turned around and came back, and I was like, oh, this is the house. And it's just like a normal looking house, except for it's up there and, has like an insane view out the back. And so I went to the front door and I rung the doorbell, and I was like, no one's coming. I'm pretty sure this is the house. I hope this is the house. Like, this is pre-GPS on your phone. Like, you got an address and you went to the address and you figured out how to get there. Maybe you printed out a map from your computer or something. And then I hear, hello, coming from, like, over here. And he had come out the kitchen door to meet me. And he was like, oh yeah, no one goes in the front door. I'm like, okay, I didn't know that. This is my first time here. Like, the most, like, normal, like, dude that you could imagine, like, it felt weird to call him just, like, Adam. Like, he was, like, that level of celebrity for me. Like, I wanted to every single time call him Adam Sandler because, like, that's what you did when you talked about, you say their whole name, but, like, you don't, it'd be weird to say his whole name to him. We just, like, we hit it off right away. Like, my dad was a contractor. His dad was an electrical engineer. We had kind of similar, like, small town roots, and just clicked. And he was the guy that I wanted him to be. Like, they say don't meet your heroes, and I'm not that Sandler's my hero. But comedy hero, I guess. He was in my cast of SNL. Sandler, Schneider, Spade, Lovitz, Farley, like Nealon. That was SNL for me in high school and college. I was 29 when I started. And I remember meeting him and him thinking, like, how weird it was that he was at that point now where he was meeting a director that was younger than him. And the house just felt like normal, like, guy house. Like, it felt like kind of like a frat house. And, kind of my whole time on the movie, like, it was kind of my fraternity experience because I went to art school. We didn't have fraternities. But, that was kind of my fraternity. I was at Pi Kappa Happy Madison. I remember being at the house and he was like, here's the script, go read it. And so, like, I just go into the other room to read the script, and he keeps coming in, and, like, I'm just like, I'm at Sandler's house. And I'm reading a script on Sandler's couch, and there's, like, a Colonel Sanders right there and a popcorn machine, and this couch is, like, 20 feet long and, kind of like a giant U. I'm like, what is going on? And, every time he would come in, like, it was a first draft, right? So it needed a lot of work. But, like, I'm not going to say it needs a lot of work. So I'm just like, oh my God, yeah, it's so good. I didn't feel like I had the voice to voice my opinion. And I think that if I did voice my opinion, I don't think I would have got the job, honestly. I read the script, and then I go back out, and they were still working on it. Like, this is how early it was. He I don't know if he does anymore, but he was a big cigar smoker back then, and I'm very much not a cigar smoker. But when Sandler asked if you want a cigar, you say yes. So I said yes, and I had a cigar, and was probably pretty sick after because like I don't know how to smoke cigars. And I gave him like my little bit of feedback on the script, which I was holding way back on some other things. But I was just like, I want this job. I want this job. I don't care. We'll fix the script as we go. This is just the first draft. It's going to get better. And so I got the job. And when we started the movie, it was so indie that there wasn't a Sony Pictures Animation. We were doing it for Sony, and we started in like a 4-room office above stage 6. I'm pretty sure it was stage 6, which was being used for like large set storage. The 4 rooms were all connected. There was no bathroom even. Like, so like these rooms had just been cleared out, and had some like very like basic like drafting tables in there. And I remember that there was so few people on the movie at the beginning that I got a call. I just pick up the phone and I'm like, hello? The voice on the other side is like, yeah, can someone come down and help me with these things? They're saying I can't park here, but I need to unload these mats. And I was the only one in the office. And so I go down. I'm 29. I go down and I meet the art director's assistant. And she was older than me. And she's like, oh, she just assumed that I was a PA. And she's like, oh, thank God, can you help me with these? And so I'm helping her unload these like mat boards out of the back of her SUV. She introduced herself and told me who she was on the production, and then asked who I was. And I was like, oh, I'm the director. And like her face, she was like, oh, oh my God. Give me those. I will carry those. And I'm like, no, it's fine. I'll carry it. Like, yeah, no one's up there. Yeah, it's fine. I give her a hard time about that every time I see her. I'm like, hey, remember that time you called me to come down and help you with the boards? So gradually the production grew. We were going to do pre-production in terms of design and boards in LA. And then we were going to do half of the animation in LA, and the other half of the animation went around the world. It's like good for us, bad for 2D animation, but we benefited from the collapse of 2D feature animation. Basically, after Toy Story came out, then all of the studios were like, oh, that's why our movies aren't doing well. Not that they were bad stories with, like lame characters and, tired plots and, it's not CG. It's not 3D. We need the computer generated imagery. That's what people want. They don't want 2D. And so we got the crew from Warner Brothers, from Iron Giant, Osmosis Jones. We got the crew from Fox that did Anastasia. We got the crew from Disney Florida that did Mulan. And then we also had a studio in London. We had a studio in Greece. We had a studio in Korea. We had a studio in Japan. We had a big studio in Copenhagen, Denmark. So we had all these studios all over the world that were all working on the project. Additionally, because Warner Brothers feature animation had kind of collapsed, the digital back end for 8 Crazy Nights was going to happen at Warner Brothers feature animation. So like all of the compositing, all of the scene planning, all for like the camera moves, like all of the ink and paint, all of the digital effects, all of the digital backgrounds. We inherited this just amazing crew, and it's because of that crew that it looks as good as it does. There's a lot of hate that gets thrown 8 Crazy Nights' way. Like people just like they hate the movie, but like a lot of people, they just hate anything Sandler puts out, and it's just like, all right, cool, you don't like it, like, but hate like for a movie, hate for a movie star, like. Save hate for like bigger things than movies and movie stars. Like you're living a sheltered life if that's hate for you. The schedule was extended, but even still, it was a fraction of the schedule that we would have had for a normal 2D animated feature. Like Treasure Planet was done in 5 years for I think $120 million. We were doing this in 2 years for $35 million. So we were definitely fighting an uphill battle the whole way. But in the end, somehow in 8 crazy months, we were able to get all of the principal animation, all of the layouts, all the backgrounds, all of the stuff that we needed to get done. Somehow we made that happen. The studio was incredibly supportive, working with Sandler and everybody at Happy Madison, also super supportive. People ask all the time, what was it like working with Sandler? And like Sandler was, and I'm sure still is, an insanely hard worker. Like you're not going to outwork Sandler. People ask how involved was Sandler, and unless he was shooting another movie, he was on the lot every day. We weren't on the lot the whole time, but Sandler was on the lot every day, and he stopped by the studio like almost every day. Depending on where we were in production, he was there all day, every day. He used to go down this interior hallway to get to the back where that's where editorial was, and that's where my office was. And so we had all these people that were working on the movie that were all Sandler fans. I was like, hey, just do a lap around the cubicles really quick on your way here, just like to show your face. It would really do a lot for morale. And he was like, oh my God, yeah, I would totally do that. I just figured like everyone seems so busy and they're working. I don't want to interrupt anybody. I'm like, no, they're here for you. Like, you're the feature. And so then he did, like from then on, like he knew the names of every single person that worked on the movie. He knew stuff about the crew that I didn't know. Like, we'd go by and he'd be like, hey man, how's your mom doing? All right, that's good to hear. Because that's the guy that he is. Like he's interested in what's going on with you. Every time I see him, he asks about my brother because my brother gave him shit at a party, at my 30th birthday party. My brother was like, hey man, don't steal anything. So like he thought that was really funny, and so he always asked me about my brother. Somehow we got done. We finished the movie. There were a lot of crazy hurdles to overcome, a lot of insane hours. If Sandler hadn't been the voice of Whitey and Davy and Eleanor and the deer and the guy with the jock strap, and I'm sure that there's some other ones that I'm forgetting. But if he hadn't been doing all of those voices, and if Alan Covert hadn't done all of these voices, and if I hadn't done a voice, if some of his other Happy Madison team hadn't done voices, we would have had to have all of these like scheduled records where like agents are involved, and meetings with actors have to happen, and a lot of these parts were just like one line, and it was just faster to record someone that was on staff and in the building. So we'd have recording sessions at like 2 in the morning in the offices, and we'd record new lines. Or on the mixing stage, Sandler would come up with a better idea for a line. Any line could always be beaten by a funnier line. And so they were always looking for the funnier line. Like nothing was sacred. If it made you laugh harder, then that's what went in. The only problem with that a little bit with animation is that you have to live with jokes for so long that sometimes they get old and you forget that they're funny. Because like you've heard it, 1,000 times. But people who hear it the first time are still going to think it's funny. So sometimes it's hard to gauge that part. So sometimes jokes that are good, we think we're beating it out, but maybe the joke that we beat it with was just funnier to us than this joke had become after hearing it so many times. But maybe this joke would have been still better than the one we beat it with. Who's to know? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not a scientist. I finished the movie. We did the final mix. I was done almost exactly 2 years from my start date. And then I had 9 months to wait for that movie to come out. And during that time, I played a lot of video games, smoked a lot of pot. And then I went to meetings like nonstop. Like my job was meetings. So I had meetings all over town. I met with DreamWorks. Jeffrey Katzenberg was like inviting me to DreamWorks events and inviting me onto the lot. And I had meetings at Disney feature animation and Fox feature animation. At the time I was like, well, I want to do live action next. That's I've now done an animated feature, and so I want to move on to live action. And so stupidly, I was being kind of like, well, I don't know, maybe let's see what happens. And so I kind of have described that period of time as that the Eight Crazy Nights opened a whole hallway full of doors. All of the doors were open. And I ran down that hallway slamming doors as I went because like I'm gonna do live action next. And assuming that the door at the end of the hall was that live action feature that I was going to do, and then I went through that door and I was in the parking lot. And I was like, I should have taken one of those jobs back there. I mean, you know, when I went back to working, I went back on Family Guy, so it's not like, you know, I lost all hope for work. And it's also not like a lot of those things never got produced anyway. So like, I don't know why I'm like, oh, I didn't get those jobs, because like no one got those jobs. A lot of those movies never got made. Some of them did get made, and they were horrible pieces of garbage. There were so many reviews. I read the reviews. I shouldn't have read the reviews. And so many of them just slamming Sandler. And then there'd be like, but it's beautifully animated. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's like a point for me. But like, they really still bashed the movie. When the movie came out, we came out against a new Potter, a new Bond, a new Santa Claus movie, a new 2D animated feature from Walt Disney, Treasure Planet, and then Eight Crazy Nights. That was the order that it went in. And the new Potter and the new Bond separately both broke box office records that weekend. It was like Potter, Bond, Santa Claus, Treasure Planet, Eight Crazy Nights. But like a big difference though is that, you know, Eight Crazy Nights made $10 million opening weekend, and we only spent $34 million to make it. And we beat Disney on a per screen basis. You know, Disney was just on 1,000 more screens than we were, but per screen, we beat them. And also kind of sure that, I know if I was 12 and I wanted to go see Eight Crazy Nights, I would have bought a ticket for Treasure Planet, and as soon as you got past the ticket guy, I would have gone to see Eight Crazy Nights. So I'm sure we sold some tickets for Treasure Planet too. I saw it with an audience at the preview, and I saw it with an audience like opening night. And I'll tell you that when a theater full of people laugh at a joke that you put in, like there's like nothing beats that. When you can feel the energy of the room and you can feel that people are like actually being touched by this, nothing beats that. This is the newspaper of the movie coming out. Full page ad. In a new kids. This is what we would get our news on, not on our phones. Our phones only called people, which your phones don't call people. The reviews were not nice. But there was one from the LA Times that this reviewer got it. Sandler's crude jokes hide a sweet message. And you know, he got that we were doing something sweet. Like it's a very sweet movie. You know, for all the fart jokes and the poop jokes, and you know, there's a whole line of guys that pee their pants, and but you know, it was a sweet story. PG-13, hard PG-13. We had an R first when we pulled some things out to get to that PG-13. None of us had kids. None of us were like, maybe we should tone this down and we'll just do like PG one. You can't please all the people all the time. So you know, you might as well make it funny for you. But 20 years. I've had a weird relationship with the movie over the last 20 years. You know, first it was like everyone was like, oh my God, you directed the Adam Sandler animated feature. And I would not have imagined that 20 years would go by and I wouldn't have done another animated feature. If you told me that you liked the movie, I would think that you were lying to me and that you're just trying to be nice. And that's where I was with the movie at that time. And you know, now like I've really kind of embraced like you know, like this is not going to not be a part of my legacy. This movie, like it's the thing that is the highest watermark on my IMDb. But you know, whenever I hear from someone that they watch Eight Crazy Nights every year at Christmas, like it just like warms my heart. How could you not get warmed by that? When I hear that there are people that watch Eight Crazy Nights every single night of Hanukkah, how could you not get warmed by that? I guess the thing that I've gotten out of 8 Crazy Nights that means the most to me is you guys, and the fact that you will hit me up on Twitter and tell me that you love the movie, or you know, I'll do a drawing of Whitey, and then that's the one that like blows up and everyone goes nuts for. So thank you for being you. I actually have a take for an 8 Crazy Nights 2. It would be great to do another one. Even without another one, it's great to interact with the fans. I'm so happy that it means so much to people still after all this time. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching this. If you could like and subscribe, maybe, because like most of you are not subscribed. But if you're watching this, please subscribe. And let me know in the comments below, like, what are some questions that you have? I did a Twitter post and asked questions, and I think I covered a lot of them in this. But I also didn't write them down. So I just kind of seat of the pants these, and I should really like write a script, but like then I'd never get them done and they'd never get posted. And so I kind of need to just turn the camera on and just kind of go, and then like do a lot of editing to cut out all the uhs and ums and all the times I touch my glasses or scratch my face or stuff like that, so I don't seem like a freak that sits in front of his computer talking. But oddly, this is a lot of how the movie was done, because a lot of the crew was not in LA, and so we had to have video conferencing sessions with Copenhagen and Florida and Arizona, this was before you had a camera on your computer. So in order to do these things, in order to do a launch, I either had to be on a video conference and sort of walk people through what the scene was, or I had to shoot in like talking into a camera and describe the sequence or the scene to people. So yeah, I've done a lot of talking into camera even for the movie, and it's less embarrassing now after COVID. Like, I've spent so much time sitting here talking into this camera for like everything that we've done for the last year. Which what I've done for the last year is I have a new series coming out. It's with these guys, the Brown and Friends. It's with the Line Friends characters. The show's called Brown and Friends. It's going to be on Netflix. It's dropping between Christmas and New Year's, December 29th on Netflix. Please watch it. If you're still watching this, please watch it, and I'll probably do a video about that one as it gets closer to the time. So thank you for the last 20 years. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.